وبعدين ما تدينيش في دوكا، انا قررت احاكمك يعني احاكمك. بعد الاطلاع على كريدت كارد ستيتمنت وعلى تشيكن اكاونت اثبتنا بالدليل القاطع ان الست هانم مستهتره ومبدده فلوس جوزها وغير مقدره بالمره.
بذمتك انا غير مقدره؟ بجد انت انسان ظالم.
هتشوفي مين الظالم ومين المظلوم. اصبري عليا. الست هانم من يومين خدت 2 اصحابها وراحوا يتغدوا. صرفوا $250 فور لانش. $250 فور لانش. Her and 2 friends. ليه؟ اكلت صاحب المطعم نفسه؟
غالي، انت عارف كويس قوي ان لما بتعصب باكل كتير.
وايه اللي عصبك استهان؟
ينفع امسك موبايلي بالصدفه الاقيه باعت صوره لاصحابه وكاتب عليها خطيتي امامي في كل حين؟ فطبعا اتعصبت وقعدت اكل كتير وفشيت غلي في الاكل. مش احسن ما افشوا فيك انت وعيالك؟
$250 يا مفتريه عشان تفشي غيرك. ما كنت جبت لك حزمتين خاص من اي محل.
اللي حصل
وكانوا هرسي عليك. وبعدين ما تاخديش في دوكا. سيبك من موضوع الاكل دوت. بالنسبه لموضوع الشوبينج والديسكاونت، الست هانم اول ما تشوف سيل يجي لها حاله طرش. ما ترتاحش غير لما تكون شاريه كل حاجه. الحاجه في البيت عندنا منها حضارات بالاربع والخمس حاجات. ففي مره اشتريت لي فوتبول، لبس فوتبول. بذمتكم ده منظر واحد يلبس لبس فوتبول؟ ده منظر واحد يلبس لبس فوتبول يا هانم؟
فين حته الشراب؟
لسه جاي.
اوكي، انا غلطانه ان انا بجيب لك هدايا كويسه، هدايا غاليه غاليه زي اسمك يا غالي.
انت عايز تضحكي الناس عليا؟ يا بنتي ده انا بلبس الشراب بنهج.
ما انا اشتركت لك في الجيم 4 مرات وانت ما بتروحش.
يا دي الجيم وسيره الجيم، ما تجيبيش سيره الجيم ده تاني بينرفزني، وانت عارفه كويس، عارفه كويس، ما تجيبيش سيره الجيم. وبعدين ثالثا اهم حاجه.
لا، ثالثا وطلعت ثالثا دي تسيبها لي انا. الاستاذ دي حضرات طول النهار بيعمل اوردرات اونلاين. اوكي؟ لدرجه ان الناس اللي بتجيب لنا الاوردرز بقوا اصحابنا، ده انا بديله غدا وهو ماشي. بيجي لي تعرف كام 4 مرات في الاسبوع. ولما اساله ايه كل الاوردرات دي؟ يقول لي على سيل. ما انت عندك حاجه الهرش اللي عندي اهو.
انت ازاي تكلميني كده قدام الناس؟
ما انت بتكلمني كده.
انت مش عارفه ان الراجل راس المراه؟ اه صحيح. بمناسبه الرقص، الست هانم راح تعمل راسها ب $300، شعرها ب $300. ايه يا ست هانم؟ $300 ليه؟ هتخلصي المرتب كله في راسين؟
بجد يا غالي انا مش مصدقه ان انت بتعمل معايا كده. ده انا عمري ما قصرت معاك ولا مع الولاد. عمري في حياتي ما قصرت معاك في اي حاجه في البيت. بتحاسبني لما اهتم بنفسي؟ حرام عليك بجد، حرام عليك، حرام عليك.
صدقت قصرت؟
بجد
قصرت يا سامي. محدش فاهم في القعده دي غيري. والحكم بعد المداوله. اتفضل يا استاذ وسيم.
I have to apologize. I understood about 35-40% of every, which is fine. I got the gist, which is perfectly fine. Want me to go?
Just come a little closer.
Move me to wherever you.
We'll do it in French.
French is better. It'll be 20%. So thank you all for coming. And thank you, Mano, for changing the whole setup of the church and of the streaming on the TVs so that we can all hopefully benefit in one way or another. Don't make fun of me. So what I thought, what I was asked to do is to give a conversation. This is not a talk. About financial harmony in marriage, and really it comes down to a couple of things. But before we start, there's one very important thing. Nancy, my wife, is making me put this disclaimer up. I am by no means a financial advisor or a marriage counselor or an attorney. So this is, take this with a grain of salt. If you guys decide to take my advice, again, I am in no way responsible at all. But what I can tell you is that this advice, well, I live by some of it, but I think it's appropriate. So what I would argue is do as I say and not always as I do. So with that. Just to give you a background, I've been in the workforce for, I don't know, 95 to now, call it, I don't know how long, I can't even do the math. But I've been in finance all my life, and I can't do the math. And I currently work for about a $35 billion company. I do financial analysis and planning for them. So with that, and with all of that background, Mary's the one who made me put in that MBA thing, but my comment is, if I'm still married and I can speak, then I'm qualified to speak here. So with all of that, there's really one magic silver bullet. And if you follow this one advice, guys, come up front. Come on. If you follow this one piece of advice, everything will be fine. Who knows what that one silver bullet is? So, what's that? Love. No, it's not love. Forget love. Your silver bullet is just round to the nearest million. And then everything is fine. Okay? And again, so kind of a true story is that on Fridays I typically work from home. Nancy's in front of me on the dining room table in front of me. It is I apologize to be speaking in the presence of His grace, but I was asked to do this before I knew He was coming. So, Your grace, if there's anything that I say wrong, just smack me upside the head and correct me. And I ask that anybody else who has any questions to interrupt and please ask.
I already like what they're talking about.
So the topic, Sayyidina, is about financial harmony in marriage. And what I started off by saying is that there's one silver bullet in harmony in marriage and finances, is just to round to the nearest million. And then, and if we all do that, there's no problems, everybody's happy, and everybody just can just go home. And because of this one silver bullet, I am done. Any questions? No, you guys are laughing. That means you want more. So, fine. I'll say a little bit more. Really, we have to think about a couple of different fundamentals. The first one is, what is marriage? What is marriage in the Orthodox Church? And what is marriage in the outside of the church? And the reason why we say this, and the reason why I'm asking this, is because we heard it for those who, again, I understood about 40% of the skit. The guy said something very interesting, that truly, if we are truly Orthodox, we would never have heard it. And I know it was kind of a joke, and it was a comedy, but he said something that he said, my money. She is spending my money. And with that, what we have to come back, so he said that, and we have to come back to the fundamentals of marriage and what is marriage. And St. Matthew says it perfectly. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Not two flesh, not three, one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. And then in St. Paul, he says, so husbands ought to love their wives as their bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as the Lord does the church. So, if we are truly one flesh over here, why can I say, what gives me the right to say, she's spending my money? Point one. Point two is, if I love my wife as my body, what's wrong with her nice outfit? What's wrong with her, he called $300 hair? I should be happy that she feels beautiful with our money.
I'll be more happy with 25.
But fundamentally, there are some things that men we have no clue how much something is. We truly have no clue how much a woman's haircut is. We go to a barber and we chat with the barber and we just wait for him, and $17 max, and we're out. They have to schedule something. They go to something, and God bless my wife. She is, maybe it's like every 5 years. So I'm happy. Maybe a year's not, but I'm good. So we have to remember the fundamentals of marriage. One flesh, and if I truly love her, if I love myself, then I have to love her, because we are one flesh. So the second silver bullet. This one is easy. It's very easy. You can share a bed. You share a bank account. It goes in unison. So we hear it outside the church a lot. Again, we hear that my money, your money, my saving, I'm going to pay for this, and then you're going to pay for that. In my opinion, humble opinion, one bank account, because without that oneness comes the problems. It's silver. It's like, one answer. The answer to. Sorry. Okay. So if you're willing to share the bed, share the bank account, and go for it. But this sort of stuff we have to agree with. We have to have some of these conversations. And I'm not seeing here anybody who's engaged. But tell your family, have these conversations early. Have them before the engagement period. Have them before, definitely have them before the wedding period. So, if we know those two things, let me ask you a question. Is money good or bad? Please, this is not a lecture. It's
You need the biblical answer or just the
sure. What's the biblical answer, Father Mark?
Money is very good.
It says money is very good. So, agreed. And it could be bad. So, money is not good or bad. What we have to think about is that it's a product of our work. We work, we earn money. We don't work, we don't earn money. Now, what happens is that we take that earning and we start thinking about it and we say, this person is going to think that, or is going to believe, I am worth something because of the balance on my bank account. Well, guess what? That person doesn't actually know what the balance of my bank account is. God for sure does not look at our bank account as our worth. Whether we have zero or negative or $5 million, we're worth exactly the same to God. And there is absolutely no difference. And my neighbor doesn't know what's in my bank account. I might show him that, or I portray that I have something that I don't, but nobody really knows. And it's one of those such private things that, I asked 7 fathers that go over 3 states. What are the issues that you hear in confession? And they don't tell me who it is, so we're safe. regarding finances, none of them really said that nobody's confessing about themselves. It's always about the marriage part. It's not many people say, "Oh, I love my money." It's one of those private things that we tend to kind of hold on dear to, and we don't even portray it in the sacrament of confession. So we use money for good and bad. We can also think of money as a substance of life, in the sense that just like air, just like food, if we truly have no money, we can't eat, we can't live. And one can argue, but you can go to a shelter, you can go to a family. Family can help you, but that family needs that same money to be able to help me. The shelter needs the donations to be able to help me. So I think of it as food and water. We take care of our family with it. We take care of our community with it. We take care of the brethren of the Lord with it. And much like we use our daily sustenance, we have to use money wisely. So there's this other thought that, well, if I made it, why can't I spend it on whatever I want? And again, we're raised in this environment where we think of wealthy people as powerful, as successful. It just came out on, the Forbes list that Amazon CEO is now the richest man in the world, and we're like, oh wow, yeah, we think Amazon, oh yeah, he's powerful. Hi, Abuna. He has power. He has a status in the world. But what we always forget is that this money is actually coming straight from the Lord. And if we don't remember it, it's right in Deuteronomy where it says, "You shall remember the Lord your God, for He is who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant. So having money is a covenant with the Lord from a Christian perspective. So what we have to do is we have to think as money as a gift from God. And now, what do we do with this gift? And we'll talk about that a little bit. So we talked about the fundamentals of marriage. Now, the fundamentals of money. And some people say, oh, the money is the root of all evil. Money is the root of all evil. It's not. It's always evil. But in the first letter to Timothy, it doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. Just like the love of anything, aside from two things that we'll get into, is the root of all evil. The love and obsession of anything besides two things that we'll talk about, is the root of all evil. So what we say is, in the first letter to Timothy, we read, "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, for which some have strayed from the faith in their greediness, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." So this is a litmus test for us about, do we love money or do we not? When we start straying from the faith, there is a love of money. When we start being greedy, there is love of money. When we start getting angry and sorrowful about losing something, this is the love of money. So we have to be careful. It's very quiet, and I promise we're going to get interactive very soon. So we've talked about the fundamentals of a marriage, talked about fundamentals of money, fundamentals of a Christian. And those are except two things. The love of two things is not the root of all evil. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second one is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So we come back and we say, if we truly believe and we truly live a Christian life, this is it. Now, is it easy? No. But these are the two commandments. So if we love the Lord with all of our heart, all our soul, and all our mind, we have to come back and we say, everything is the Lord's. And we are nothing but stewards, that we have to maintain what He has given us. And just like the unwise steward who just buried his one talent and came back and gave the same talent, the master was not pleased with that offer. So we have to make sure that we're doing the right thing with what we've been given to take care of. So we have to learn how to tend and to grow the money that the Lord has given us. Whether to grow it by investing in people, investing in the brethren of the Lord, by tithing, should start becoming a joyful thing, and we'll talk about tithing a little bit more. Abundant giving, out of our needs, not out of our wants, and raising an altruistic family, a family that's just joyful about having their doors open to give, and to host people that might not have a home, that takes the stranger in. And with that, when we become abundant in giving, or when we become and we start tithing, what we have to remember is that, again, if it's not my money and I'm just taking care of it, I'm giving it back, there should be zero expectation about what is happening with that money. Let me say that again. There should be zero expectation about how the tithing is handled. By tithing joyfully and abundantly, our reward is secure. what someone does with that reward, what someone does with that tithing, not my problem. So we have to remember this because it becomes somewhat sensitive. And I hear people talk about it. I say, ugh, it just feels wrong. It feels wrong. So we have to take care. So depending on where we are in that spectrum of, joyful tithing, abundant giving, so on and so forth, we start putting ourselves in kind of buckets. And we think of ourselves really based on, those who save and those who spend, those who seek security, and those who are willing to take some risks. But what we have to remember is that it all comes down to really a couple of things. It comes down to what my childhood experience was. So someone who was poor growing up and now they have money. Again, I've seen different people. Some say, "Oh, now I have money. Let me have my family enjoy what I did not have." But I've also seen people that turn to saving. They want that security blanket around them because of the stressful environment that they lived in growing up. But it also comes back to our faith in God. Saving and not having faith in God about that saving is futile. Because what typically happens is you have these different types of people. Dina, I can email you that. You don't need to take a picture. I'm going to pick on you. Come over here. Dina's a spender. So what we have to realize is that in any marriage, it's very possible these two columns are very polar opposite. And it's very possible that in that same marriage, you have a husband and wife who are very polar opposite when it comes to money habits. So it could cause a source of strain on the family and on the marriage. So again, I'm just raising the awareness that this is something that has to get handled. And we'll talk about all of that in a little bit. So, a quiz time. Who here has a cell phone? Please take it out. Nobody raised their hands, really? All right. Oh, I didn't. I was bending down. Take out your cell phone. All right. So, please send a text message to 22333 with the text WSIDHOME 771. Send a text message to 22333. The text message should be WSIDHOME 771. Right? Doesn't matter. WSIDHOME 771. Send it to 22333. It's free. Yes, everybody here has unlimited texts. So come on. So to that number, text WSIDHOME 771 just once. This first time to join. And then once you do that, why don't you just send in an answer to the question, what in your opinion is the number one issue between couples when it comes to finances? I'm sorry? So the number is 22333. And you send the message that you send is WSIDHOME 771. And then the question is, what in your opinion is the number one issue between couples when it comes to finances? It's absolutely anonymous. I do not know who's sending messages, and it will not show. But nobody has sent anything yet, which concerns me. Oh, there goes spending. The question is, what in your opinion is the number one issue between couples when it comes to finances. So someone said spending. So we'll talk about spending. Spouse spends more than you are comfortable with. Spending versus saving. Thank you. Spending on big ticket items. Maybe like a hot tub. Saving. Okay. Not agreeing how to spend. So I think the consensus here that we're hearing is that there is a communication gap. Okay? There's a communication gap between and not really understanding. What's that? Consumes, spends, yep. Spouse spends more than you have. It's always about the spouse. It's never about me, right? Not communicating. All right, so we're going to move on. Clearly, it's a communication issue and not knowing and not setting up expectations at the beginning or at any given time about, thank you guys, hi. We're not talking about expectations. So let's handle that for a second. What's going on? Uh-oh. Not? It's not showing up on my screen, sorry. So what we have to do is we have to think about short-term versus long-term goals. And I just kind of made up a range, 1 to 3 years for short-term, 7+ years for long-term. And this is the sort of stuff that we have to do as a couple. As one, we have to have these conversations. What am I going to do this summer? How much am I going to spend on a summer vacation? Do I have money to spend on a summer vacation? Do I need to renovate, whether my house or is the car broken? Do I need to upgrade my car? Can I fix my car? Can I go full-time? Can I go part-time instead of working full-time? These are real issues that we either decide on it on our own, or we just ignore the conversation altogether. Or long-term goals such as purchasing a home. That's a big decision. Do I pay or do I not pay for kids' education? Go figure it out on your own, or am I willing to save whatever it is? $60,000 is the last number I heard per year. That's for a private school, so UMass is all the way. Midlife crisis. We're all going to go through it at some point. My father's been through it like 5 times.
Why do you drag him into this?
He's here. He's never here, Abuna. Worry-free retirement. You know, a spouse could say, "I'm planning on retiring at 65." The other spouse is like, "Oh, I'm going to work until the day I drop." Okay, there is an unbalance that we have to talk to. One thing that I heard a lot is that my spouse, not my spouse, but I heard from the 7 priests that I've pulled, my spouse takes money and sends it to her family without me knowing. So that's not really long or short term, but again, it's not her money to decide, it's our money. We have to come to agreement about how we spend our money together.
Provided that he is allowed to spend to his family, except for his family.
As long as they agree, Sayyidina.
But she's not. No.
That's an issue.
That's an issue, huh? So you guys heard that? The issue is she's sending money to her family without asking me. But in the meantime, I'm already sending money to my family to help them without asking her. So it's kind of a two-faced approach that, again, we're not in harmony. It goes against 100% against that the first bullet about what is the fundamentals of a marriage. Be honest about your demons, and demons is kind of a strong word, but let's say I like to collect $3,000, $5,000 watches. My wife might like to collect, I don't know, $5,000 person. She doesn't, but thank God. But maybe those are our demons that we enjoy doing that sort of stuff. We have to make sure that we're communicating this sort of stuff. Breathing room, and what I mean by breathing room is that we should always have some sort of an allowance to kind of, for each one, again, this is my opinion, for each one to kind of do as they wish with it, whether it's $50 a month, $100, whatever it is. You guys decide. There is no right answer to any of this stuff. And then dare I say, I heard it a lot, is how much do I tithe? And we've addressed tithing before, but there's a lot of conflict about, I'm not willing to give 10%. I'm not willing to give 15%, whatever it is. So, and please, fathers, your grace, correct me here, but I would argue that the Lord wants a happy family, a peaceful family, before a 10%. So again, my opinion is come up with a number, whatever it is, 5, and then every couple of months, add on to it. Am I still comfortable? Every couple of months, add on to that, add on. Am I still comfortable? And I can guarantee you from personal experience is that God provides. And God does not leave a cheerful giver alone. So with that, I want to stop. Your Grace, do you agree, disagree with my opinion? Please. What's that?
Are you done?
No, but do you agree with the opinion that specifically in tithing, that the Lord wants a happy family, a joyful family together, and before an angry family where the husband is 10% tithing, or whatever the percent is, and the wife is, and they're just at odds with each other? Okay. Okay, fine. So we'll put that on a parking lot. And then, of course, giving out of our need versus our excess. Because again, if none of these possessions are truly mine, how do I willingly give from what I need and versus from my leftover?
See, I've also heard of arguments of, so you agree on the tithing 10% and then disagreeing about where the money goes, because there's so many places you can donate to church and otherwise, that needs to be, it's not just the tithing, but where it actually, where you spread it out.
So here I would argue that what Mary was saying, Sayyidina, is that maybe the couple agrees on tithing at 10%, let's say, but they disagree on where the 10% goes. Does it go to a local church? Does it go to my church at home? Does it go to some other organization?
The diocese charity.
Me and the Messiah will be talking about the diocese charity. So I think these are all very valid concerns. My humble opinion, again, and say, no, we'll address it. I'm putting him on the spot, and I apologize. But your church comes first, and then everything comes after. But I'll let His Grace address that. So another quiz time, and my screen is just not showing, so I apologize. So. You don't need to send that WSID home to WSID home 771 anymore. You don't need to do that. So now just choose A, B, C, and D. How often do you and your spouse discuss financial situations? The question is, how often do you and your spouse discuss your financial situation? Afterwards. This is not a marital discussion. Absolutely. So A is once a week, B is once a month, C is once a year, D is never.
There's no never so far.
That's good. How often do you and your spouse discuss your financial situation?
When I see a big spending on the bank account,
All right, so I think we're settling on about once a year. Okay, so nobody else is going to submit anything? I can't. I'm not that smart. I don't know. So I think no, it's pretty even. Once a week, once a month, once a day. I'm sorry, Gina's not there. I'll put it there next time. So relatively flat, relatively, at least there's a conversation, right? So I argue that we need to set aside a time, maybe every other month or every quarter. And by the way, the word quarter, my 8-year-old teacher and I got into a fight about what a quarter is. She says that it's 4 times a year. I argue that it's 4 equal times a year. So I'm going to go with equal. 4 equal times a year. So every 3 months or so, set up some time to discuss with your spouse your finances. Maybe not the whole thing, but I would argue that you need to go through, if any income changes, talk to your spouse about your income changes. Talk to your spouse if spending habits have changed. Confirm that the B word is still okay. Anybody think what knows what the B word is? But oh God, she said it. She said the word. We'll talk about that in a second. Those goals and expectations that we set, that we talked about earlier, make sure that they still apply. Are they still the same ones? Because guaranteed they're going to change at some point. So make sure that you guys are aligned. Talking about large purchases, Dad, every quarter. Talk to Mom about large purchases with no yelling. With remembering Matthew 19:5. What's Matthew 19:5? Really? It's the fundamental of marriage. the one flesh. The comment about one flesh. Right? Take your time, be respectful and honest, and as one flesh, talk about some of these items. Talk about all of these items if necessary. Don't shy away from them. Don't shy away from them. And then if we do that, then it becomes a habit of communicating as a family, as a couple. We become a team. We become a team that sinks or swims together. We become a team that strategically unites us because we're going towards same goals. And if we do that in unison on a quarterly basis, there is no "I told you so"s. Nobody here says "I told you so" to their spouse ever, right? Never. And everybody has strengths and weaknesses. So you put the couple together as one. It strengthens the marriage. It strengthens the decisions, and you come out stronger as a team. It's all about the unity. And if we truly believe this unity, then there is harmony in marriage when it comes to finances. So, don't put your phones away. So, have you set a monthly budget or plan to guide your spending? A is yes, B is no, C is I have no idea, D is what's the point? There is no money anyway. What's that?
Should be one answer, should be never.
That's good. Oh, we're going a little bit. So 50% of the people said no.
It's very Christian.
What's that?
It's very Christian. The no.
Which one? The no budget?
God will provide.
So God absolutely provides. And trust me, I'm not. There's a story that I can share with you later, but God absolutely provides. But again, so that we're all talking from the same book, from the same speech, is that we should know not precisely what we're spending our money on. So I just took an example and I hid some stuff, but there's a lot of tools out there. Here's the B word again for the Sidham household. Of course, you can't really tell much about this, but there's a lot of online tools that help you with this sort of stuff. So on the left tells you kind of like, what are you spending your money on? And then on the right, based on the budget, in January we were 98% on budget. February is going to be, 103. But one thing that we know for sure, and again, I come from a financial planning and analysis background, is budgets are one thing for sure. What is the number one thing that we know about budgets? Okay, no, that's not the answer I was looking for. Go ahead, Nancy, go ahead. They're always wrong. As soon as a budget is set, it's always wrong. But it's a guide to how we should, on where we should be. So that's why they work. So you set a budget, maybe it's flat this way. Every month I'm spending, whatever it is. And then you see your actual, it should be right around that line. 1 month will be low, 1 month it will be high. And some categories might not be exactly the same, but we should budget for a rainy day fund. We should budget for savings. We should, and we have to make sure that we're generally on track. It's impossible to be 100%. It's impossible to be, honestly, this is an accident, but it generally works. We look, we is the wrong word. I typically look, and I apologize, publicly, that we do this, about once a year. I kind of just touch it, but we need to do it more often. We need to do it as a couple, more often. So, another poll. How have you divided the financial responsibility in your household? A, one spouse to take care of everything. We are one after all. B, one pays the bills while the other tracks long-term investment. C, we sit down together and do everything together. D, nobody in particular takes care of anything. So what I'm hoping here to see is something between a split, B, A and B. It's clearly not a split. But I think that's fine in the sense that one person should definitely be in charge of bills, for example. Because the last thing we want is, oh, I thought you're going to pay the bill. I thought you're going to pay the bill. And then it becomes a problem and the bill becomes late. Okay? Again, there are no right answers here, folks. Definitely the wrong answer is that nobody takes care of the financial matters. Ideally C, which nobody picked. But as long as we have talked about it, as long as have we agreed on it, it doesn't matter what the answer is. Okay? So, if you have a bonus or unexpected money coming your way, your great aunt died and left you $20,000, how would you spend it? Would you midlife crisis? Would you immediately head to the mall for an afternoon of indulgence, pay down debt, save and spend equally, contribute to an individual retirement account? Ideally, sure. Ideally, what would you do? What would you do? Forget ideally. So I think we're kind of getting into the pay down a debt, which I think is a solid idea with one caveat. Are we done voting? So my one caveat on paying down the debt, it's not showing up. My comment about paying down the debt. If the debt, for example, is a debt that with a 2% interest rate, and then you can put it in a retirement that gives you an average of 5%, might not be the wisest move. So again, as a group, as a couple, you have to decide on what you want to do. You should take in my opinion, you take the 3% difference between the saving and this, and you put it in a fund that gives you a little bit more money than what you're spending on your interest rate. All right, what else? Next question. Have you ever tried to disguise or hide a purchase from your spouse? Again, I promise you, I don't know anybody who's voting, and I will never know. Only around the holidays.
Seems the following question: have your spouse ever hid or hide?
Poor Mira. So A is no, I'm always honest. B, maybe once or twice. C, around the holidays. D, regularly. Okay, so talking about big purchases, let's skip the holidays part for a second. But we have to have these conversations with our spouse. We are one, and if we act like we're two, then we'll become two. And there is no room for two in a marriage. There really isn't, unless it's the kid. Okay? So I'm glad that this is 67%. Oh, okay, 62. I'm going to move on. I'll see. Change the screen. So talking about big purchases, again, and I encourage you guys to, in that quarterly meeting, have this conversation with your spouse. Talk to them about what the comfort level of these sort of things. How much money would you feel comfortable spending on a single purchase without first conferring with your spouse? Less than $50, 51 to 100, 200 plus. I don't care what it is. I don't care how much it is. I'm going to buy it anyway. Okay. Someone's not telling the truth. I won't say names. Okay. All right, we're going to keep going. Have you made provision to care for your spouse in case of a death or a disability? Yes, I have updated a will. Maybe 10 years ago I have. No, I'm too young for anything to happen. So between a 50-50 between yes and no. So what I would say here is that wills are very important, and I'm not an attorney. Anybody here an attorney? No, I was banking on at least one person to tell us why, but they truly are important. If for nothing else, and God forbid, of course, but the one guarantee in life is that we're all going to die. The one guarantee in life. And one thing that we want to make sure is that our family is okay. I think. Sometimes I don't like. Sometimes I might not think I care, but I do. And making sure that who's going to take care of my kids? Is it my parents? Is it my in-laws? And then if we're both dead, then there could be a fight. I don't like you. I'm going to take better care of them. Well, what about what we want? Okay? In different states, for example, one thing you want to protect is your children from the sense that, again, depending on the states, you can have, if I die today, it could be 50% goes to my wife, 50% goes to my kids. Well, do I really want an 11-year-old to have 50% of my money? And then she can literally, if there is no will, she can do whatever she wants with it. If she decides to rebel, God forbid, there's no nothing that can be done about it without a will. So these kind of these vehicles help plan for the unforeseen events. Okay, so we've talked about the will, the W word. Just in case you missed it at the beginning, Nancy's making me add this. I'm not a financial advisor. I am not a marriage counselor. I am not an attorney. So everything here is being presented as my own opinion. And thank God His grace is here to correct me later. Then my hands are washed. Okay. So again, a lot of this stuff is basic, but sometimes it needs a reminder. I'm a big proponent of credit card, and I'm a big proponent of one credit card. We never carry cash in our pocket. We just use the credit card for everything. And the idea here is that it helps with the categorization that, that pie chart, the donut chart I showed you, automatically does it for you. So it's a good tool to kind of keep track of what you're spending on. It offers, of course, the protection. Mira, you missed what Abuna said. It offers protection. It's definitely safer than using cash. When I talk protection, is that your money getting stolen and all of that stuff. It comes down to some people have multiple credit cards. Again, depending on your habits, I personally go against that because it's just harder to keep track, less visibility, risk of overspending because you're spreading the spend on multiple credit cards and just more bills to pay. The couple of comments, just a reminder, and if you haven't heard it, I'm saying it. Make sure that it's paid off every month in full. Never pay a minimum amount only. That's just disastrous. Never pay it late, not even 1 day late, and we'll talk about that in a second. If you do happen to pay it late for one reason or another, if it doesn't get there on time, call the company. Make sure that you negotiate with them to kind of remove that late payment. And honestly, if your credit card bill is too high, you're spending too much. Something is wrong. And if you can't, and if you're thinking that maybe I don't need, I'm going to choose not to pay that full credit card bill, something is probably going to need to change. Now again, there are extenuating circumstances, but that's what rain day funds are for. So sometimes people are out of jobs or whatever, but again, hopefully we have some of that rainy day fund to lean back on. And again, I think one or two more examples, and I promise you I'm going to be done, is this is so stupid, but it's real. In the sense that if you have a mortgage, pay it off quicker. Whether it's $100 a month, whether it's $200 a month, I just did the math. For a $300,000 mortgage for 30 years, 4.5%, which is about the average rate right now, we would pay $247, call it $250,000 at the end of 30 years in interest. If I just pay $100 more per month, I would save $34,000, and I'd pay it off in 26 and a half years. And if I spend $200,000 more a month, I'd pay it off in 24 years, and I'd save $60,000. So consider that. And consider another thing that people do all the time is they split the mortgage. So for example, if your mortgage is $2,000 a month, pay $1,000 every 2 weeks. It's not the same as $2,000 a month. By the end of the year, you pay an extra mortgage payment. Automatically saves, I think, 4 or 5 years, something like that. So consider paying it quicker. Another quiz time. A credit score of 675. A credit score of 675 is A, excellent, B, good, C, fair, D, poor, or E, bad? A, excellent. B is good. C is fair. D is bad. D and E. Okay, so we're settling on excellent, on fair, with poor, excellent, and good in the runner-ups, but mainly fair. This is where, again, paying your bills on time makes a huge difference. And so the right answer, this has a right answer, and the right answer is fair to good. Right? It's fair to good. And you can kind of see here in the U.S. the range of where people are. But be familiar with this sort of stuff. Get to know where you are, because it makes a difference when you go buy a car, when you go buy a house, when you go get a credit card, when you go do anything that requires credit. You need to be in a dark green area to get good rates. Okay? And then finally is that who cares what the Joneses have? We always think of Mr. and Mrs. Jones, our neighbors. Oh, how do I be better than the Joneses, right? But at the end of the day, the Joneses never actually know what's in my bank account. Let's not compare ourselves to the Joneses. Let's compare ourselves to what God wanted us to be. So let's avoid this. They bought a car, I got to buy a car. They bought a name it, I have to buy the same name it. Who cares? Let's live as a family, as a unity. So just some final parting thoughts. Everything that we have is from the Lord. We truly, if we don't believe that, then we need to figure out how to get ourselves to believe that. When it comes to marriage, over communication, especially regarding finances, is not an acceptable word. Over communicate, over communicate, over communicate. Don't set yourself up for a failure. And again, mainly here, don't overspend. Don't get yourself in a lot of debt, uncontrolled debt. Understand and discuss with your spouse their viewpoint on money. Again, comes back from the foundation of how they were raised, how each of us were raised. Let's make sure that we have the same goals and expectations. Absolutely, don't keep secrets from your spouse. And the golden rule: how do I have a conversation with my wife? The same, in the right tone, so that the same way that I would expect her to have a conversation with me. And then, if all else fail, call for reinforcement. You have your fathers of confessions. You have financial advisors. I've never used one, but I've heard great things about them, and I've been considering it. And again, just remember, Wasim Sidhom is not a financial advisor. I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not an attorney. Take everything I've said today with a grain of salt. What's that? Yeah, you can call, but again, I'm going to put this slide first. Any questions? No questions? Grace?
Before I say it, you go, he said something wrong that we want to correct him. Uncle Sharif didn't go through 5 midlife crises, only 3. And I know the 3 cars he bought. So it's not 5.
There's 2 more that you don't know about. One or two knows. Doesn't even know about them.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. You know what the meaning of wasim?
Every time
It means handsome. Arabic. Handsome. Like two parents. Handsome. God bless them. يعني, I'm glad that you're having this meeting, because oftentimes we have a meeting to prepare you for marriage. And now it's called Cana Prep. It's like few sessions that it's now mandatory for every couple before they get married, that they have to take this course. But what about after marriage? What you learn about marriage before marriage is totally different from what you experience in real life. But it's a good course because it prepares you. But I think it's very important to have the after marriage meeting. Hopefully at one point it will become a real well-studied program, just to continue this advice sessions, and just to get together and share experiences, so you're not alone. Okay? تعرفوش دبستوا نفسكم في ايه غير بعد يعني. So Wasim asked a question about tithing, so I have to answer it before I make some other comments. Tithing versus a happy family. Let me talk not about a happy family, but a spiritual family. What's the definition of a real spiritual family? Spiritual family is the family that loves God, goes to church regularly, receives the Holy Communion, reads the Bible, fast whenever the church is fasting, and they do the tithing, right? Because it's part of the spiritual package, right? So we cannot separate a spiritual family from all what I just mentioned, right? To understand tithing, because it's a very sensitive issue. Why? Because it has to do with money. It's not like we are trying to solicit the people. Solicit is the right word? Huh? يعني we're not selling a product and soliciting, people how to give. No, this should come natural, and we shouldn't even be talking about it at all, because it's part of your spiritual life. You do it automatically, but you have to learn it as you're growing up. You see your parents doing it, so you grow up understanding that this is part of your spiritual commitment to God. You see? I remember Pope Tawadros told us a story. Someone was giving him a donation, as he was a bishop at that point, but he gave it in front of his family members. Then he said to him, when you want to give, Pope Tawadros is saying that. So he said to him, when you give something, you should give it, not in front of everybody. So this man said to him, Your Grace, I want to teach my kids how to give. That's why I give you in front of them. So His Holiness realized that he's not doing it to show off, but he's really doing it to teach his children. So you give, the Lord said, do not do your charitable deeds in front of the people so they can see you. Sometimes we have to do it in front of the people because this is the only way to do it. Right? But this is not the problem. The problem is to do it in front of the people so that they can see us. This is the tricky part. So that they can see us. So if you do it in front of the people, but your intention that not that they see you, that's fine. And God can see the heart. Right? So what's tithing? What's money in general? Money is the way that this world has come up with to deal with one another. And it used to be wheat and etany. Huh?
Different products.
Some goods, yani. Right? You exchange wheat for rice, whatever. Right?
And soon will be Bitcoin.
And then they made it into coins, right? And then the paper money now. So what is it? What is it? It is really about love. Why is it about love? Because if I am given in abundance and I want more and I don't want to share, it means I don't love. You agree? So now even if it is money, but the idea is the same. If I have a lot of wheat in my barns and I know that someone is suffering and doesn't have anything to eat and I'm not willing to give, it means I don't have love. But if I'm willing to share, it means I love. So it's really not giving is a sin of lack of love. Right? You agree? And that's why let me read to you what God says. You know, first time we hear about tithing was in the book of Genesis when Melchizedek met with our father Abraham and he gave him the tithes. Okay, of what he had. Abraham gave to Melchizedek. And that's why St. Paul says that Melchizedek is greater than Abraham because Abraham gave him the tithes. And the idea was that Melchizedek was a king and a priest, but his priesthood was based on the bread and wine like the priesthood of Christ. And that's why it is greater than Abraham, in whose loins came the Aaronic, the priesthood of Aaron, right? And then later on it became official that in the law, you have to give 1/10 of what you have. Okay? Became in the law. And when people were far away from God, they didn't give the tithes. When they returned to God, one of the things the Lord stressed was to give the tithe, right? So it's part of our relationship with God. But this is not a lecture about tithing. I'm just answering the question. So I'm going to read you the most important and maybe most famous verse in the book of Malachi, in 3, beginning with verse 7. Yet from the days of your fathers you have gone away from my ordinances and have not kept them. Return to me, and I will return to you, says the Lord of hosts. But you said, in what way shall we return? Okay? So, return to me. In what way? This is the question. In what way shall we return? You may think to repent, to come back and pray. Then let's hear the answer. Will a man rob, right? Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, in what way have we robbed you? The answer is, in tithes and offerings. See? So returning to God, here, according to this, it means to give the tithes and your offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me. The word robbed is a big word, right? Imagine to rob God. That's why one of the bishops said, if we don't give the tithes, it means I'm stealing from the money box or the donation box because it's supposed to go there. Or I'm taking from the mouth of a needy person. Okay? And we will understand why now. For you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring the tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and try me now in this, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such blessing that there will not be room enough to receive it. But I want to tell you, you don't do it to get a reward. You do it because you love to give. Although there is this promise, and everyone who gave have this experience of receiving from the Lord. But if this is your intention, you are not getting the heavenly reward. You are just getting the earthly reward. Understand? So if you give to receive back, you will receive back, but only the reward on earth. But if you really want The reward in heaven. Give not expecting to get more here on earth, but it will be given anyway, and you will have the heavenly reward. This is very important. God so loves a cheerful giver. Okay? And okay. So what's the point? The Lord here stresses that there may be food in my house. What is this food for? We understand in the beginning of Christianity, they used to give to the priest or the bishop, and then they distributed according to the need, so that no one was in need. We read about this in Acts chapter 4. I think it's Acts chapter 4. You just double check. You know the Hanani and Sapphira incident? So, it's... Yeah. But before end of chapter 4. Now was there anyone? No. Okay. And with great power the apostles gave witness to the resurrection of the Lord, and great grace was upon them. Nor was there anyone among them who lacked, for all who were possessors of lands or houses sold them and brought the proceeds of these things that were sold and laid them at the apostles' feet, and they distributed to each as anyone had need. And that's why there was no one basically in need. Okay? So, they gave out of love, and there was no need. No one was in need. Why? Because they shared together. So I go back to my first initial word that not giving is a sign of lack of love. When we love, we give more. And now, you see, the question is how much in the New Testament? You know, the tithing is 1/10 is the Old Testament. So what is it in the New Testament? It is unlimited with a minimum of 11%. Why 11%?
Above the 10%.
Yeah, because the 10% is the how it was in the Old Testament. And our Lord, so, you know, remember the Pharisee who stood before the Lord and said, I give my tithe to the Lord and I fast 2 days. And then the Lord said, you will not enter the kingdom unless your righteousness exceeds the Pharisees. So it has to exceed the Pharisees who give 10%. Right? So now it is unlimited because God said, the Lord Jesus said, give to anyone. Give without a limit. He did not designate any specific number. Who to give? Is it your church? Is it some charities? Now I agree with Wasim and say that your church that serves you has number one priority. Why? Because it is the church that serves you. Makes sense, right? Because if you don't give your church that serves you, then who is responsible for the church that you attend regularly, etc., right? So, I can designate a certain percentage that should go to your church, but I heard that maybe according to Pope Shenouda, he said at least 75% should go to your church. And then you can help other charities, you can help any other churches that, for example, you may hear about churches going through a project, like, for example, if there is this church is going through a project and other churches can share, right? Because one church is building or buying something. Because this is also, we are one church, so we help each other. And because of this, now we have the once a year, we present the financial situation of the church to the congregation so they know what the church is spending and what it needs for the coming year. So everything is transparent, which makes the people understand. Although I agree again with Wasim that it is not anyone's responsibility, because you give, you get, once you give, that's it. But you don't need to, because some people say, unless I'm happy with the service, I'm not giving. Unless you do this, I'm not giving. I don't understand. This is the spirit of the world. This is not the spirit that, the church has been operated with, or has been going, the right Christian spirit that existed from the beginning. So really, you give out of love. Both have to agree. There are 3 kinds of giving, by the way. The tithe, which is, again, just above the 1/10. Okay? Number 2, the vows. The vows is by choice. It's not mandatory. So the tithe is actually mandatory. It's not it's like everything we do to be proper with God. But the vows it's a deal between the person and God. So you say, if this happens, I will do that. And we see this in Genesis chapter 28, the first vow between God and our father Jacob. He actually vowed to give God the 10th, and he made a vow if he returns safely, etc. So a vow is a deal between the person and God. And then the first fruits. Again, the first fruits belongs to God. So the idea is, how is this money should be spent? It should be spent, and it was the bishop and the priests, and now, because we live in this world, the board, right, is responsible for how to spend. And sometimes we come to the congregation if there is a big project for which we need to involve the congregation. Number 1 is spend on running the church. The priests are full-time consecrated servants. The electricity, the heating, the cleaning, etc. Some people do some of the services. And helping the needy. Believe it or not, in every church here in the United States, there are needy people, right? They are just starting their life, or they are going through crisis. So the church has to help these individuals as well. And we have responsibility towards our mother church as well. So we spend, or we send money to Egypt, right? So this is basically how the money is spent. And whenever there is a big project, like this project you have now, we tell the people we are building a new building and we need your contribution. So it's really simple. Does anyone have a question about this before I talk about something else? Answer your question. So you have to agree with your spouse. طبعا. Don't make a vow without the other, because it will not be valid. Okay? So if you say to God, I vow to give this or do this, if this happens, but your spouse does not agree, the vow becomes invalid if the spouse did not agree. So don't mess up a vow, because it should be, especially if it is something that has to do with giving. By the way, a vow does not necessarily has to be giving a donation. It can be anything. I would do this if this happens. For example, someone may say, I will call my son whatever, Mark. If I have a son, I will call him Mark. Okay? I will call my daughter Mary if I have a daughter. Whatever. But it has to be by agreement. Okay? Okay, so I have three silver bullets for you. From what?
Because Mary asked about what's this.
I don't know what it means, but just borrowing it.
Tagging along.
Okay, when it comes to marital issues, because I know maybe every time you talk about something different, but when it comes to marital issues, I feel that there are four important categories of issues, right? Number one, and most common, is the intimacy-related issues. Okay? Every title has many subtitles. So the first one, and most common, and the cause of huge problems in marriages is intimacy-related issues. Okay? And this can be destructive to a marriage if they can't deal with each other and understand the needs of each other. Okay? The second one is money-related issues, financial issues, like the ones that were discussed. واحد بخيل stingy جلدة. إن الجلدة بيقول عليها إيه بالإنجليزي؟ Leather. Someone leather. You know how you can't translate everything into English, right? You say leather, leather دي. Stingy يعني. And someone likes to spend. It's very difficult to live with a stingy person because it's يخنق, right? Anyway, I'm not going to go into detail. So, intimacy related, money related, respect. Number 3 is respect. If they don't respect each other, again, it's very destructive. They have to, although they are husband and wife and they live together and everything, they share everything, but they have to have respect and boundaries. Okay? Boundaries between husband and wife. Yes, there has to be boundaries. The idea of boundaries. Okay? Number 4, extended family related. How much involvement should we allow the extended family or others, friends, whatever, to interfere in our marriage? These are maybe there can be other problems, but these are the most common. Okay? So my 3 silver bullets now. Number 1, from the talk, I just gathered these points as he was talking. Number 1 is trust versus mistrust. You know what this is? Erik Erikson. Are you aware of Erik Erikson? The stages of development. Trust versus mistrust is a fundamental need to live a happy life. And we learn it from the first year or first stage of our life. So actually before we are conscious, we gain trust or we lose trust in the world around us if our basic needs are not met. So we grow up either to trust too much or to have no trust or to be a balanced person. Trust and mistrust. We need to have a lot of trust, but we have a little bit to be careful, right? But once they don't have trust or the trust is broken, it's a big problem. Because if someone hides something from the other, so you spend on something that the other doesn't know about, okay? Or you have your own mailbox, or you have another cell phone that the other one doesn't know about. Whatever it is, transparency is fundamental. Transparency. And actually, I heard one of the bishops say in one of his lectures about Adam and Eve. They were both naked. He understood this in the spiritual sense. Naked means transparent. You can see through the other. You don't hide anything from the other. And this, safeguards the trust. Once the trust is broken, it's very difficult to gain it back. So do not do anything that breaks the trust. And once the trust is broken, now we have issues. Someone was actually sitting with me yesterday, and he said, the husband said, is it proper that she has her own account and shouldn't we have one account? I said to him, it's not right. But let's discuss what is the reason that led to her deciding to have her own account. What did you do? Maybe you made her feel unsafe. Right? So, now we have a problem. So, the wife says, I have to have my career and I have to be independent because anytime I want to leave him, he doesn't control me. Huge problem because this is not marriage really, right? So before they get married, they are planning what will happen if we separate. It's a huge problem, right? So people get married because they will stay together forever, right? But now they are planning, what if هتجنن انا كمان باللي بيحصل بشوفه دوت حاجات غريبة. Very strange, right? So I'm not planning how we stay together. We are thinking, what if we don't stay together? Which is a huge problem. So please do not do anything that will break the trust. Trust is a fundamental. Number one, how to understand the needs of the other. What does the other need? Women need love and affection. Okay, in the relationship. Let me read St. Paul. This seems like another lecture, Wasim. المفروض كنا نقول a couple of comments and leave you. But listen to what St. Paul says. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife, her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. I think these two verses, although St. Paul was a celibate, right? He was not married. But he understood exactly what each one needs, right? So he speaks first about the affection, and then he speaks about the body. As if he's saying, first, there has to be affection, there has to be love, and then they can have the physical relationship. It doesn't work the other way, right? So there has to be love. And the other thing I noticed, when he spoke about affection, he said, let the husband render to his wife the affection due her. So he spoke first about the need of the wife. She needs the affection. She needs the love. And likewise also the wife to her husband. حاجة كده secondary يعني. Because what does he care about? He cares بقى, بصوا بقى, the wife does not have authority over her own body. عارفين في مصر يقول لك بس بقول حتت بالعربي عشان هيفهموه. يقول لك حقي. حقك حقي يعني my right, the husband in Egypt, like, my right. This is not Christian influence, right? Influence coming from somewhere else. حقي. No. مفيش حاجة. There is a relationship, two people, equal. Okay? You love her and make her feel important, valued. She will happily love you back, and you have this relationship, intimate relationship. St. Paul says so. St. John Chrysostom says بقى more details. So, how to understand the needs of the other. Okay, I'm not going to say بقى go into how to give affection and love. Needs time. But love the person. Love the person. You will get what you want. The last thing I want to comment on is happiness is a decision. Happiness is the decision that you both make. Okay? So, how to deal with challenges? How to deal with challenges? You have to decide, what if we face a challenge? Are we going to fight? How are we going to do it? Deal with it. we make a decision, we will be happy. We will never sleep if we're fighting. We will deal with every issue before we sleep. It's a decision that you both make at the beginning of your marriage. Okay? Because challenges will happen. There is no marriage without challenges. But how to deal with them is what's important. God bless you all. Again, I'm very happy to see that such a meeting is taking place here. And God bless the service in this church. God bless you all. Glory be to God forever. Amen.
أصغر واحد قول نصلي. احنا we thank سيدنا طبعا. We have a schedule that we look forward to. He blesses us with this visit, and this is a meeting that it's still growing. And with your prayers, Sayyidina, we will have more families. Mina's going to talk to us a little bit about the diocese charity. And coincidentally, it's happening with the financial harmony in marriage. So he's going to tag along, and then if anyone wants or have questions for Sayyidina at the end, we can do that.
So this presentation is in the presence of His grace and is happening at every church that he visits, as long as time allows and as long as the environment in the church allows. So I'm here not as the annoying guy that's usually here. I'm here as actually representing the organization, so try to look past our previous experiences with each other and try not to judge the organization based on your feelings towards me. So the organization started last year under the direction of His Grace, and the functioning board members, the people that are executing the work that the organization is doing, are Abuna Girgis in Long Island, myself, and there's a couple that it seems like they're doing a joint board membership. The doctor's name is Gigi and her husband are also working with us from Staten Island. And we have a great team here in Boston that's working hard to establish this organization. So this is our logo, and our tagline is empowering opportunity through fellowship. Mark, can you do me a favor while we're talking? Can you take the 2 flyers and just sort of pass them out? As the flyers are going out, I want you guys to give us your feedback on the flyers. They're 2 different styles in 2 different directions, and we want to hear feedback on both of them. You say, I like this one better, or I like this one, but I want... What's that?
Is there a voting poll?
I don't have a fancy thing that, siphons money from people's accounts into my cell phone, so... Oh, he didn't tell you that was part of the thing? So give us your feedback on the flyers as well. The organization is the only official charity for the New York and New England Diocese. His Grace wanted us to focus all the charity work that we're doing into one worthy cause. As His Grace said when he was speaking earlier, the first priority is our church, our parish, making sure that our parish is on strong footing. And once we know that our parish is on strong footing, people have established charities and here and there and lots of things that people are doing, which are great, but then there's a little bit of a lot of distraction as to where the different efforts are being expended. So we wanted to focus people and say, okay, well, this is the one that the charity endorses and supports, and the one that the charity, that the diocese has established. So the purpose of this charity is to advise and fund businesses. So we have people in Egypt that have the desire, the ability, the opportunity to establish a business, but they just don't have the funding or the support. So we advise and fund entrepreneurs to build businesses. We leverage a global network to provide access to credit. What does that mean? It means that if you're just in Egypt, the only place you can get money is from an Egyptian bank charging you 20% interest. And it's really hard to start a business on 20% interest. And if you can't pay back or if there's delays, then you could go to jail. So this global network, the fact that we can support them from all over the world, gives them this access to credit that they otherwise wouldn't have. Instead of having to work for someone, instead of having to stay poor, they get credit through our organization. We support ambitious people who otherwise lack opportunity, and that's inherent in the philosophy of what we've discussed. We strike a balance between philanthropy and fiscal responsibility. We're a charity, and I tell people all the time, we're Koinonia Ventures. We're not Ventures. We're not just trying to take people's money and make money off of their money. Even if they fully repay the loan, so we're giving them interest-free loans, even if they fully repay the loan in exactly when they wanted, so we lend them 100,000 Egyptian pounds, they pay us back 100,000 Egyptian pounds, which translates into about 5,000 American dollars. If they fully pay it back after 3 years, we still lost money because of inflation. So this isn't Ventures, this is Koinonia Ventures. But we're also not just throwing money at people and saying, oh, here, take some money. Oh, yeah, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, you don't need to pay us back. Oh, no big deal. No, we're being very serious about who we're giving money to, how we're giving it to them, and how we're encouraging them to repay it. So the balance is that we're Koinonia Ventures, not Ventures, and not just Koinonia. We're trying to balance the philanthropy and the responsibility to the people that are donating money to us. And finally, we want to combat oppression by establishing self-sustainable communities. Ultimately, what we'd love to do is to just have a whole community of people that sort of buys in and says, listen, if you have a good idea, if you want to do it, these guys will help you. And for us to be a resource for these communities so that the community becomes self-sustainable. These people that have businesses lend money to somebody else. These people that have businesses hire somebody else, so that we're not just giving them money and then the money gets spent on food. We're giving them money to support the community on an ongoing basis. So the steps are to find the projects. So we have contacts in Egypt to help us find the projects. We evaluate the projects. We have an employee in Egypt. His name is Roger. He's a great guy. He visits the projects. He asks them questions. He comes back. He gives us the answers to the questions. We ask more questions. And through the process, through Roger, we're able to get more information. We fund the projects. And when we fund the projects, we also provide them with a business plan. We take all the raw data and all the information that they give us, and we say, okay, so at month 3, we expect this. At month 6, we expect this. By 1 year, we expect this. And it's not to be difficult with them, it's just to have some landmark, something where we're evaluating. So, for example, the gentleman to your right, Behet, we just approved funding him this past week. We're about to buy sheep for him, and he's going to raise sheep. So we took the raw data. He said he's going to buy 32 sheep. They're going to give birth after 2 months. He should have 50% rate of twins, 50% of males and females. So we said, okay, so if you buy 32 sheep, you should have a 50% twinning rate at 48 sheep. 24 of them should be men, or male sheep. Boy sheeps. So the other half should be women or female sheep. And we will check back in after 3 months, say, okay, how many males do you have? How many females do you have? How many of the females are you holding on to for breeding? How many of them are you selling? Are you selling them pregnant? Are you selling them fertile? What do you expect back? And we're not going to meddle with the answers to these questions. We're not going to tell him, well, no, this is what you should do. We're just going to ask and just sort of keep in touch and then check back in after a few months and say, okay, are the sheep sick? Are they doing okay? And making sure that he's thinking through all these transportation costs, storage costs, things that go into a business. And if he has the right answers, then we're happy to give him money. And if he has the right answers, we're happy to leave him alone and let him do work. Hani, the one on the left, is the one that's already working. He started last year. He has an electronics repair shop. Sarwat is the guy in the middle. And he's going to start a clothing manufacturing business, hopefully at some point this spring. We're still figuring out what the timing for him will be. We have lots of other applicants, and our timeline is to visit them. We're actually going next month in April to see the projects firsthand. We want to see the electronics store, see how it's doing. He's going to fix my cracked screen on my phone, and that's a joke that we're not going to use them for that sort of reason. Very bad joke, very bad joke. And we also want to see the sheep, see how the sheep are doing, talk about different strategies for how he can do a dual purpose. We have friends here who have a goat farm, so we're asking them for advice. They're looking over the business plan, and hopefully once we go, we can give them some real practical advice based on the advice that we get from our friends here. And right now we're working in the $5,000 range. When we go, we want to see lots of different types of projects with a bigger breadth. We're interested in seeing the poorest of the poor. We're going to a very poor part of Giza. We have friends who are trying to put us in contact with somebody who does this sort of informally in a suburb of Asyut. Ultimately, the contacts that we make are through Amba David and Abuna Girgis, because they're the ones that are going to be able to really navigate the politics of the communities that we're in, because that's a really challenging thing. It's just, we want to make sure that the people that we're working with have a good give and take relationship with us and with the people that are there. By summer, we'd like to fund one project per month. This fall, we're going to plan 2 gala events, one in the New York area and one here. And by winter, we should be starting to get some money back from these projects, so that in addition to the donations that we're getting from people, we're getting not donations, but repayment of loans, so that goes back into the pool, and then it becomes a self-sustaining organization. So how can you help? First and foremost, your prayers. If you have a contact in Egypt, if you have advice, a lot of the comments that we get is, "This is going to be really hard." We're like, yes, it's going to be really hard. No, you don't understand. It's going to be really, really hard. And we're like, yes, it's going to be really, really hard. And that's why we're totally open to any support, any constructive criticism, any warnings that you have. Most of the warnings we've already gotten. We understand the difficulties of the situation, legalities with the Egyptian government and that sort of thing. So we do need your prayers, and we do need your advice if you have solutions to some of these problems. You can donate at the website. Again, remembering, make sure your donations to your church are first and foremost, but also in support for the organization. If you have extra that you're willing to donate, please, by all means, we'd love your donations as well. Like us on Facebook, share it with your friends, spread the word, and we want you to be excited about this as well. I'm glad Danny made it up here. Hi, Danny. So Danny's one of the team members. So he, along with Mark McCarr, Mark Solomon, say hi, Mark. Mark is helping us with the accounting. Mike Gabor is currently in Peru, seeing Machu Picchu, and apparently there's a mini Picchu as well, which I didn't know. So I can't wait for Mike Gabor to get back to tell me about mini Picchu, as well as Machu Picchu. He's a great guy, and he's actually going with us to Egypt in April as well. We really have a great team, and a lot of people putting in a lot of hard work to make sure that the money that goes into this organization actually goes to people that are going to make great use for it and give us the money back so we can give it to more people that can make great use for it. And we hope you guys support us with your prayers and encouragement. Zayden, do you have anything else to do?
So the idea of the organization or this charity started with one of our priests in Long Island. His name is Abuna Girgis, who really had the God put in his heart to start this kind of service. And he has a lot of passion for this service. And he's a very well organized person, and he picked the good servants to serve with him. But the idea is we notice that many people have started many charities in the last years that are very random. We don't know anything about, and people just keep giving because our people like to give, right? So we said we want to have one official or officially recognized charity for the dice, as there is one in Los Angeles, اللي هي Saint Verena, and there is one in the south, اللي هي اسمها ايه? Hope, right? So also our diocese, now we have a diocese, so we said we want one official organization for our diocese so that the people can trust this organization and they know that their donations are going to the right people. The second thing is we wanted to come up with a new idea, not just to give to needy people and then they spend it and they need more, but the idea is how to be self-sustained, right? So we give them the young entrepreneurs, they have the education, they have the experience, but they lack the money. So why can't we help them to start and they can pay us back? يعني يبقى مش بس they are not just receiving but they are paying back طبعا without interest obviously, but also over time comfortably. So we can help others as well. So I think this idea found a lot of acceptance, especially for our young people who may think this is the right way to do it. Yeah. And that's why the logo with the hands connecting, it also means that we are not just helping, so we're not just giving someone, but the hands are helping because as we are helping them, they are helping us because service is a means for salvation, right? So when we serve, we are being served as well. When we give, we are being given. And that's why the hands are connected together in this manner, meaning that as we help, ultimately we're being helped in our salvation. Okay? And the Koinonia Ventures, it's the Koinonia part here, the word Koinonia is a Greek word, well known in the early church, which means fellowship. And we heard in the Acts passage I read that they had fellowship together, and that's why there was no one who lacked. So the idea is, through this fellowship of love, because although we are separated by thousands of miles, but we are still one. We are connected. We have this fellowship, and we feel their needs, and we try to help them, but we are ultimately being helped as well, because we are one. So as we help one member, so if you are one body, if one member suffers, then the whole body suffers. If one member is honored, then the whole body is honored, right? So we are connected somehow. That's why this circle of hands, and of course the cross is our goal, is our means of salvation. Very simple, but very meaningful, right? And then notice also that the ones who will help them to start a project, they will hire others as well, right? So it's not only one person we're helping. They have like a small project, and they will hire others as well that they can help. And as their project grows, they will help and hire more people. So we're indirectly helping many other than the ones who are being directly helped. Yes? هو ايه المقابل؟ فين المقابل؟ فين؟ لا ثواني ها؟ Yes, okay.
انا قلت كده بالانجليزي بس اوضح بالعربي. فاذا حد عايز يعمل مشروع في مصر دلوقتي هيدفع 20% interest. انا interest يعني ايه؟ that word. So it's 20% interest. ده لو عارف ياخد. فدلوقتي اذا عايز يعمل مشروع مش هيعرف. فدلوقتي احنا لما نديله 100,000 جنيه دلوقتي، إذا احنا دلوقتي خدنا ال 100,000 جنيه دي وحطيناها في البنك هناخد على الأقل عليها يعني 3%، 10%، أي يعني هناخد مكسب عليها. بس ما نحطها في البنك بنديها له هو ونقول له بص مننا ليك واحنا هنساعدك. So the advice that we're giving him on top of the money, the advice to help him and say, okay, you know, are you buying this? Are you buying that? Are you planning this? Are you planning that? Is even more valuable than the money. فلما ناخد ال 100,000 دي وهو يرجعها لنا، الفلوس دي مش راجعة ليا ولا لسيدنا عشان نبني مبنى هنا ولا بنعمل أي حاجة. وعلى فكرة الفلوس غالبا مش هتسيب مصر، هتقعد في مصر وتروح من جوه مصر لحد تاني. فالفلوس اللي هو مديها مش مديها لنا احنا، والفلوس اللي هو مرجعها أقل من الفلوس اللي احنا مدينها له عشان احنا خسرانين فيها. ال 100,000 دي بعد 3 سنين كانت ممكن تبقى 110 103، فهيرجعها لنا 100 فاحنا هنبقى خسرانين فيها. وبرضه زايد عن كده الفلوس دي هتروح لحد تاني مش هتروح لينا احنا. فاحنا مجرد بس ان بنوزع الفلوس وبنشجعه هو، بس مش يتعلم ان هو ياخد ويحط في جيبه ويجري، لا يتعلم ياخد وبرضه يدي ويدي حد تاني. بتحصل كتير في مصر.
في ناس، خلينا اشرح لها بس، في ناس بتعتمد على ان هم ياخدوا ويكسل انه يشتغل، فاهمه؟ يعني في ناس لو انت اديتيله خلاص الكنيسه، ده في كمان ناس بجحة شويه زياده، يعني يقول لك انت كنيسه لازم تديني، يعني بيعتبر ان الكنيسه ديت وهو بصحته ويقدر يشتغل وما عندوش مشكله، لكن هو يعني انا بتكلم على واحد ان هو كمان بيعتبر ان ده حق، ماشي. بس احنا الفكره ان انا عايز مش مجرد هو اخوة الرب. ايه يعني ايه اخوة الرب؟ اخوة الرب احنا بنساعد الشخص اللي محتاج علشان يعيش، مش كده؟ عشان محدش يبقى معتاز. دي الفكرة، ازاي يبقى الشخص. لكن انا لو افرض انا دلوقتي بديله مبلغ 100,000، طب لو انا اديت له عشان يعيش يعني عيشه معقوله، مثلا اديله هنقول ايه 1000 1500 واتبر، يعني دلوقتي في مصر 1500 دي كمان ما يعملوش حاجه، نقول 1000 ماشي، يعني 12,000. ال 100,000 دي تخلص بعد قد ايه؟ لو 12,000 احسبوها كده بعد 8 سنين هتخلص. انا بدل ما اقعد اساعده 8 سنين انا بعمل له مشروع هيعيشه طول الحياه وينتج منه لانه عنده صحه، وفي نفس الوقت هيشغل ناس يعيشهم برضو معاه. فانا بدل ما اساعد واحد 8 سنين انا بعيشه طول عمره ويعيش كمان معاه other families بالطريقه دي. يبقى دي 100% فكره ممتازه. بدل ما هو قادر يشتغل وانا بساعده ان هو ما يشتغلش، لا بقول له انزل اشتغل وانا اساعدك تشتغل. يبقى فين اخوه الرب بقى؟ اخوه الرب لو عندنا واحد مريض ما بيعرفش يشتغل، اقول دوت كنت مريضا فزرتموني مثلا، اقدر اساعده، كنت عريانا. لكن الفكره لو انا عندي واحد مش عارف يشتغل واساعده او اقدر اساعده اوكي، لكن واحد مش عايز يشتغل وانا اشجعه انه ما يشتغلش، يبقى دي خطيه عليه. فهمتوا الفكره ازاي؟ يعني لو انا بساعد واحد يقدر يشتغل، بساعده عشان اديله واساعده ان هو ما يشتغلش، يبقى دي خطيه. لان حتى الدسكوليه الديداكيه بتقول ايه؟ لو واحد جالك ضيف وقعد عندك يومين وثلاثه استضيفه، لو قعد اكتر من يومين او ثلاثه شغله. ليه؟ عشان المسيحيه لا تساعد على الكسل. فهمتوا ازاي؟ فانا بساعده ان هو يشتغل، يبقى انا عملت عمل خير ان هو ممكن يشتغل، وانا بساعده ان هو يشتغل ويقف على رجليه ويشغل ناس تانية معاه. في ناس بقى بتعتمد ايه؟ ما هو في تشاريتيز كتير، يعني في تشاريتي تانية تقول لك ايه؟ انا ادي للمحتاج وخلاص، ماليش افضل اديله بقى طول عمره. ماشي، عايزه تدي كده ادي، بس احنا ده شغلنا معتمد على فكره ان انا اوقفه على رجليه عشان يعتمد على نفسه ويقدر نعتبرها مش مجرد حاجه هياخدها وخلاص، لا ده هو هيحصل ريسايكلينج تاني، فاللي هو هيدفعه من غير انترست وعلى مدى زمني طويل هيساعد ناس تاني، فهو يبقى عامل حسابه ان هو زي ما تساعد هو كمان ايه. فدي فكره ان انا مش اناني، يعني انا خدت لكن انا برضو بفكر في ان انا اساعد زي ما انا اتساعدت. لا، فيها تعاليم روحيه مهمه قوي. يس. لا، الكنيسه مش ملهاش دعوه. الكنيسه مش بتعمل سوبرفيجن ما عندناش وقت وما عندناش ناس تسوبرفايز. الكنيسه بس بتدرس، مش الكنيسه كمان، ده خدام مخصوصين في مصر هم اللي بيتابعوا العمل في مصر، احنا ملناش دعوه. في ريسك، يعني هنعمل ايه؟ هنوديهم السجن؟ لا طبعا. Because it's a Christian charity.
Yes, yes, no, thank you.
في one last program بنعمله every couples meeting. بيبقى في drawing على.
So this is the gift box, Sayedna, behind us. So for every meeting we give out a gift. So my wife Mary. This is my wife Mary. Yeah.
To encourage the incline.
So Mira, come pull the name out. So
بتبقى دايما حاجة encourage the incline. ياخدوا dinner، ياخدوا movies.
go ahead, pull a name. Not that one, not that one. Okay. أنا بخوف كلها يا سيد. والكبار برضه.
Oh, look at this. It's Abuna Samuel.
Kusa.
That's
Kusa. Kusa.
Where is me? Why you never put my name? Never wanted. Well, again, thank you, Sayedna, for joining us. Can we move this table? Yes, yes. Sayedna, we cannot do this without, hopefully servants will يجوا هنا. طبعا نيافتك شايف قد ايه الكنيسة هادية والcouples قاعدين فرحانين except for Irini. بس it's the servants, college boys, believe it or not, Sayedna, هم اللي serving و keeping the kids occupied by activities downstairs where they make this possible. وطبعا the servants running this and making it a very fruitful and blessed meeting. Thank you, Sayedna, again. Thank you, Abuna Musa, Abuna Samuel, Abuna Michael. Who is the first time to attend the meeting? Uncle Sharif, with Sherry, and with Lillian. Okay. Yeah, a lot of other couples بس ما جوش النهارده. I think maybe some of them went skiing with the snow, the amount of snow we I know for sure one couple went skiing. بعد ما نصلي ممكن ناخد صورة جماعية مع سيدنا بليز. اتفضل يا سيدنا.
O Jesus Christ, the King of ages, who fasted for us 40 days and 40 nights, receive to yourself our fasting, forgive us our iniquities, remit our trespasses, and grant us our Christian perfection that will be pleasing to you, and keep us in purity and righteousness all the days of our life, through the supplications and prayers which Our Lady, the Lady of us all, the Holy Theotokos Saint Mary, makes on our behalf at all times, and through the supplications and prayers of the three great holy luminaries, Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, the four incorporeal living creatures, the 24 presbyters, all the heavenly orders, St. John the Baptist, 144,000, my Lord and Father, the apostles and the three holy saints, youth Saint Stephen, the holder of God, Evangelist St. Mark, the apostle and martyr, and the blessings of this blessed day, and the blessings of the holy fast, and the blessing of the Holy Theotokos Saint Mary, the beginning of and at the end. May their holy blessings, their grace, their power, their gift, their love, their help be with us all. Amen. Veristos benoti. O King of peace, grant us your peace, establish your peace upon us, and forgive us our sins, for yours is the power, the glory, the blessing, the majesty forever. Amen. Make us all worthy to pray thankfully and say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and give us this day our day. And forgive us our trespasses, we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not in. Deliver us from the evil one, in Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. The love of God the Father and the grace of His only begotten Son, our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ, the gift and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you. Go in peace, the peace of God be with you.
Can we everyone come and we have a picture with Sayyidina? Come on, everyone. Come on, line up, please.